discipline. There should be fiscal, now by fiscal I mean monetary governance in the way, well, that is even why we do budgeting. How much does it cost? An average Nigerian, or in a day, what is the average, how would we put it now, fuel that Nigerians use? So you project that in a week, in a month, in a year. This would give you, I mean, this is simple arithmetic and accounting. This would give you an idea of what the citizens need. Then you would know the amount that you can budget to make sure that that is available. You can then give room for additional quantity, so that if there are for contingency measures. But this time around, we hear them talk about import, export, whereas an average Nigerian who is already battling with sour information, because they intentionally make this information haphazard in a way that will be very difficult for you to pick and arrange them. They intentionally do those things. So even at that, they cannot still, okay, even if you are doing all these things, make sure that the people are getting the basics. You cannot control it. And I think when you are not managing any investment or asset or program well, you should leave, because you have been overseeing failure. And that means it is the approach that you are using. So if we have been complaining that, and like we say, this is our source of income, this is where government gets money that they should need to begin to do the infrastructural developments that we are talking about. So are we now surprised that if you go to road, many roads are dilapidated? Alternatively, that is why the government is borrowing and borrowing our futures away. Whereas the first thing that they should do is to ensure that our revenue sources of income are well protected. Every day insecurity, we hear that this number of volume of crude has been stolen, and we have asked, nobody, an average Nigerian cannot steal crude. It is still done by the elite. So over the years, what we are seeing is a high level conspiracy of the elite in Nigeria to perpetually make Nigerians remain poor. This is worse than program, because this is well intended, and they have crafted it out, and they are using the resources because they have access to it to stifle voices, to stifle the lives of Nigerians. This is very, very unfortunate that it is happening in our country.
Okay, let's go back to the next papers we have under review this morning. The next is The Guardian. Fuel hike imminent as NNPCL admits $6.8 debt. $6.8 debt supply strain. That you can see on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And then we have, despite elusive $7 billion intervention, federal government to inject 1.2 trillion naira in TCN discos. FCCPC's marching order. Businesses claim victim of government policies. Fault tackling inflation by flat. Seizure of national assets, an embarrassment to many. That's an editorial, and you can see that on page 12 of the Guardian newspaper. And then we can see the picture there. Bankers Committee completes restoration of National Theatre. You can see the Gatesman House, the lobby, all the places that are being rehabilitated or refurbished, and then also the conference room. Then the next paper is the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, still talking about petrol price rising, and then the writer there says, why hike is inevitable. This is coming from experts. Atiku demands listing of all firm on stock exchange. End bad governance, protesters for trial in Abuja, Kano, Kaduna, Borno today. CBN mom over bulletproof SUVs for governor and deputies. Nel Fund, Kano, Borno, Benue, Castina, top loan applicants list. New emir of Ningi, Haruna, to banned. And then 21 million naira jumbo pay, Serap sues Akpabio Abbas for fixing NAS running costs. concerns over Bajabia Mila's oversight of agencies. Riders says CSO seeks scrutiny of COS action. Civil servants, senior civil servants divided. Action not against our mandate, coming from reps. Should I say we have interesting stories? But I mean, just like you said earlier, once we see the tabloids every morning, it's just stories that will dampen your heart and just make you look at this country as a nation that, I mean, we don't really have anywhere we are going in the future. But then again, what we do is just sit here and talk about it. Hopefully, one day things will get better. Now, one thing I appreciate, in front of the Guardian newspaper, is the restoration of National Theatre, because I think the last time I visited there, it was in a mess. I mean, monuments of that magnitude are owned by Nigeria. You go there, you see offices dilapidated and all that. So with this restoration, rehabilitation, refurbishment, I think it's the way to go.
Yeah, so it's a good one, really. And the National Theatre just really points to the fact that there are many government structures that have been allowed to just lie and get wasted without being used. And maybe this is an opportunity to once again call the attention of the government at the state level, at the federal level. If they have such structures, instead of allowing them not to continue to be in use, why don't they renovate it and use such structures as economic hub for youths who have business activities? So, because most times you see youths who are now struggling with payment of rent for whatever program that they want to run. But if the government can actually near repair this, we're not saying that it should be a first class building, but make it a bit habitable, then youths who have different kinds of economic programs, socio-economic initiatives or ideas can begin to use those areas till they build. But sometimes when you are doing interventions or when you are doing a program, you would need an office space, an office address. So we can use this as office addresses. Then while you continue to build your enterprise, you can decide to leave. But we allow these things, they stay there, they are now being occupied by rodents, they are now being occupied by bats and other kinds of animals. Whereas the citizens are multiplying, unemployment is increasing. So what happens to thinking differently and acting out of the box? That is one. Now let's now come back to the substance of our conversation. It is good that the National Theatre had been renovated, and maybe people that will really benefit from it are the artists, the entertainers, that are the people that will benefit from it. But I now want to imagine an average Nigerian who has not had anything to eat saying that he's going to the National Theatre for what? And maybe possibly people that might even regularly visit the National Theatre, in quote, might be people living in Lagos and around that environment. Because with the threats now that there are going to be increased fuel price, it also means that there will be increased transportation cost. So because of how much do you think you spend from wherever you are all through to the National Theatre? So it also shows that everything in an average society they are all interconnected. So for you to get the living condition right, it also means output must also be right? So at that level, what we're now saying is, if we give the government two years and they don't seem to prepare or address the monumental issues that are facing us, unfortunately, that National Theatre might begin to dilapidate again. Because if you're not using it, or if you're not using it to the full capacity, some areas will begin to be neglected. So these are issues, and once again, we are really asking ourselves, where lies our value system? The money that we make, the conversations we make, why are we not really, as a government and as a people, making our government see that what we are saying, our voices must be heard really? And that is why we appreciate this kind of platform, to sustain that social awareness and consciousness, for people not to lose focus of the kind of questions they should be asking their leaders and begin to dwell on irrelevant and trivial matters. Once again, it's good that the National Theatre has been renovated. Maybe we would want to see a space now where they'll begin to use it for, what is it called, theatres,
and also
cinema programs.
We have spaces where people can do their film premieres instead of going to rent hotels and paying huge sum of money. I mean, film producers in the country, they can use those spaces and then still pay, and it's a way of generating revenue.
It's now for the management of the theatre to make that place conducive, to give these directors reason to really begin to patronize it. Otherwise, they have this high standard. They want to use 5-star hotels. They want to go to VGC. They want to go to Lekki to do some programs. But if we have shared purpose, people can intentionally, just because they want to contribute to the development of the country, go there, use the venue for whatever programs they are doing. But in return, it also means that the management must continue to maintain that infrastructure. It also means that by extension, that is when we're talking about transparency and accountability. It has a way of making people know that this project, they are part of it. I mean, the project called Nigeria and the runnings of the country, they are part of it. And when people feel and know that they are part of it, you see them going extra miles to contribute their own quota towards the sources of it. The revenue that is coming now that will be generated, let them not use it and buy another 20 billion naira car. So directors will be using the National Theatre to provide income and revenue to the management and to the state or to the government, and then they are using it to buy car. Once that perception has been picked, they will revert back to using hotels.
Quickly, let's go to the next papers for review this morning, and that's the Tribune newspaper, the Nigerian Tribune. Fuel scarcity, still talking about that, may worsen nationwide. We've seen NNPC admit owing suppliers, says financial strain on company poses threat to sustainability of supply. List NNPCL on stock exchange. Now, that's coming from article. Alleges oil company providing cover for subsidy payment. Stakeholders, others cry over high interest rate electricity tariff. Asks federal government, CBN to reset faulty economic sectors. How Southwest farmers can key into low-cost irrigation farming to prevent food shortage. That's coming from agric experts. And we also have federal government to invest $800 million in power sector. NACO rewards staff for returning $10,000 found inside aircraft. Minimum wage, Ekiti government constitute committee to negotiate with labor. Zenith Bank delivers half 2024 result as gross earnings hit 2.1 trillion. Our Tinubu government should tackle high food prices and hardship. That's coming from Catholic bishops. And then we have a League of Northern Democrats seeks roles for El-Rufai, Lukman as group lobbies traditional rulers. Coalition set to reposition the North ahead of 2027. And then the Blueprint newspaper, we have at the mast there, you have Zenith Banks still talking about their gross. Terrorism in Northwest, that's the banner headline. Federal government order to CDS, orders excite Sokoto, Katsina residents. RY youth back move. NAF kills Kingpin Mustafa Abdullahi, 5 others in Kaduna. ACF calls for Niger Republic renew ties. And we have Idris to represent Tinubu at Indonesia Africa Forum in Bali. Financial strain could impact PMS supply, coming from NNPC. And on sports, we have federal government NGF boss hosts Africa's first ever indoor golf championship in Abuja. Bauchi, Zamfara, Sokoto, Jigawa most affected by flood. That's coming from NEMA. You have traders to federal government. Tackle electricity tariff to crash food prices. And then the writer there says blame cost of transportation, logistics for price hike. Wow. Samuel, not too long ago, you were talking about the Catholic bishops meeting to tell Tinubu how to tackle high food prices and hardship. Sometimes I don't actually believe that our leaders shouldn't know what the economy of Nigeria is saying until certain people will now come and meet you as a group. As a leader, your first priority should be the feelers you get from those that you're leading. But in Nigeria, it's like there's a total condonement, I would say, from the feelings of the reality to what our leaders are actually feeling. Because who will be in this country for the past 1 year and tell me that he or she doesn't know that we have existential problems, insecurity, food scarcity, and then this fuel issue that the insincerity of their government is now bringing to fore before Nigerians?
So I would want to go through this route. The funny question even is, they should know ordinarily, even after renowned leaders have engaged them, still calling their attention to certain issues, what do they do? That is another serious question to ask. Because this is not the first, the Catholic Bishop will not be the first group that is going to meet the president, and even this present administration, the previous administration, they met the previous administration. And I know this is not the first time they are meeting him or writing to him, and I don't think it's going to be the last. So over time, some of those suggestions, some of those issues that they have pointed out, what has the government done to address them? That is one strong question that we need to ask. That is one. Now another area is, I think it's generally the system that we run in Nigeria, the system whereby the things that are in the mind of our leaders is primarily how they can make their way into the Commonwealth and begin to feast on it. That is unfortunately what they have at the back of their mind. And that is why when they go there, by their appointment, they are calling those to favor people who supported them. So it's time to recoup what they have lost. It's not even time to listen to you. I mean, if they are listening to you because there is hunger, they will not be purchasing what they are purchasing, because they know, no, let us channel these resources to make sure that the issues of insecurities are dealt with for our farmers to return back to the farm and begin to farm. Apart from that, even what is it called now? The import duty, the rice that they said they are going to bring, a lot of conversations. They are still planning. When they set a date, they extend it. Sometimes they will tell you it's indefinite. But when they want to buy cars for themselves, that one they both environment, they will look for every area to get money and then purchase it. But what concerns the living condition of the citizens, they begin to play politics around it, trying to negotiate. Typical example, I don't know, people are civil servants. We are talking about, what is it called now? The minimum wage. Yeah, it has been signed, right? 1 month has passed. We're even thinking, since it has been passed, they should immediately effect it. But those who should be doing that, the revenue mobilization and whatever committee that's in charge of that, it should begin to reflect into, even though 70,000 naira minimum wage, cost of a bag of rice is increasing and it's still increasing. So, but this one is now static. And when they want to make their political statements as per achievements that they have made, they will tell that they have increased minimum wage at the detriment of who? Also, unfortunately, we have leaders who have surrounded themselves with not even whistleblowers now, people who who just are interested to close the ears of the government. Whenever there are fillers coming in, they sieve it out. Sycophants, thank you. They fill it out. They tell the president, you are the best that has happened. Any idea or policy that the government brings in, they begin to praise it. When the president, even in the state, will do it. When the governor comes here, you begin to hear on a Mofuma, he is doing well, he has done this, he has done that. But the question is, please, even in all these things that are happening, we should have a system that allows for polling from the public, where the public will be giving you real-time information on the status and the nature of what is happening. By that, you can begin to review your policies to really affect the citizens positively.
All right, let's see what we have at the front page of the Daily Times newspaper this morning. The Daily Times, we're talking about Atiku to federal government implement provisions of PIA, list the NMPCL on stock exchange. says anything short of listing NNPCL on the stock exchange, nothing but cosmetic development. Okay, and then we can also see the top master, Serap sues Abbas for fixing running costs of NAS members. Zenith Bank posts exceptional the first quarter 2024 performance with 117% surge in gross earnings to become 2.1 trillion naira. Well, that's what we have on the front page of the Daily Times. And then the Punch newspaper, we can also see the Punch newspaper, petrol scarcity set to worsen as NNPCL admits $6 billion a debt. And then we also have, as riders under it, debt to petrol suppliers has caused financial strain. PMS supply threatened NNPC. Petrol queues spread, motorists lament as few marketers decry PMS shortage. Okay, and then Dangote refinery petrol ready for rollout. Power generation down by 1.400 megawatts as Discoms reject allocations. Nigeria has second highest rate of food insecurity coming from Bill Gates. And then down there, hunger protest. Federal government arraigns activist British ally today. Wanted ex-beauty queen surrenders to NDLEA for drug offense. And then Zenith Bank posts 2.1 trillion naira half-year gross earnings.
Well, I was expecting probably for those that own an account with Zenith Bank, maybe some little dividend to just trickle down into your account.
I wish.
Because of what they declared, right?
So yeah, well, but what
The people that really enjoy it are the shareholders. Not people.
I mean, for Chidima that owns an account with Zenith Bank.
You know what I'm a shareholder.
If you see the normal 3 naira that comes into the account, and then 4 naira will be removed for SMS charge. So.
Okay. So you see the topics the headlines we wrote out. Let's quickly just talk about the petrol scarcity.
So, why I look at this petrol scarcity, because they do these transactions using the bank.
Yes.
And it is in this forex modulation that the banks are making this humongous amount of money. And it's also to make you understand the interest level of a nation. In Western world and an advanced world, people who are comfortable that you can say are making this level of profits when they announce it, people in tech, people in entertainment, and then footballers. But in our own climb, we see the people that are making huge profits, banks, whereas the manufacturing sector are crying. Some of them are shutting down. And CBN is still increasing, what is it called now? Loan, interest rate of loan.
But even in that, sorry to interject you there, the CBN, the federal government rather this time around, is saying that we cannot import because of forex scarcity. That's coming from the federal government. Can't import fuel. I haven't said that, no more subsidy, and then we're having this backlog of scarcities lining up. If federal government can't access forex, then how much more the traders, like we read in one of the papers, telling us the best way to go about tackling this insecurity and electricity.
So let's just hit the nail at the head now. We know these issues exist. First of all, the federal government should embrace these issues. By the policies that they have made, nothing would be wrong if the president tells us, I know Obasanjo, that is one thing we love him for. He promised us constant power supply. And then when during his administration, we are not getting it, journalists asked him, he said, when they made the promise, I don't know, say the problem, they big like this. So he admitted that what he's saying is not what he thought would be said. So for our president, maybe the conversation has been fuel subsidy, that. So he wants to show that a new sheriff is in town. And he used that euphoria to say subsidy is gone, which made the fuel price skyrocket. And we are still struggling with it. Let's forget other policies that they have really done. Nothing stops them from saying, we are sorry that we took this position. This is what is happening now. I mean, give us real-time updates so that people would begin to readjust with the reality for what the government has said. But you are living in lies, you are living in denial, but people are still suffering. And let's not also forget that investors who naturally should begin to bring in some chunk of this FS, they understand what is going on, and they don't have investors' confidence to really come in and begin to invest. And that is why the FS is scarce and nothing is happening.
Well, on that note, we want to say a very big thank you to you, Samuel, for joining us for Press Review this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, we'll take a short break. I will be right back. Stay with us.